year. Everybody just relax. It's going to be all right.
Here comes Ben Leber at Nacho Leber via the tweet machine. Watch him on Twin Cities Live, 3 to 4:30 each and every weekday, including today on Channel 5. It's on Channel 5, Twin Cities Live, 3 to 4:30. Just off the cuff, and I'm putting you on the spot here, and a no is completely fine. So just because I'm putting you on the spot, just because I'm inviting you to something,
okay,
just don't feel obligated because we're on the radio.
All right.
Would you ever stop by a feast and like chop it up with Greenway and I in charge for like, I don't know, like twice a year or something? Just mix it up in front. You would?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like
those sound like really fun shows.
Well, I've never asked you to do one. And it's, we start with Greenway and then Gabe comes by at like 10 and then Alec comes by at like 11. So, we're booked up and we're cool. But then when I was writing this, I was like, it's Oakdale tomorrow. So we dined at Oakdale on a TCL day. No, we ain't going to hit you on that. But if we're like relatively close, and whether the crowd's big or small, they're generally smaller early in the year and then they build. I think it'd be great to have you come by for an hour and like down memory lane we go with 52. We also talk about the game coming up, courtesy of Maple Grove Lock and Safe, which brings us Ben Leber each week.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Maple Grove Lock and Safe. Really appreciate the sponsorship. How about we do this? If you have time, I know you're a very busy man. If you have a list, if you already know where you're going to be do you know where you're going to be the whole season? Send me that list. I'll circle a couple dates and I'll say this is what I can do.
Cool. Now, what if the team, for whatever the reason, gets out of the gate 1-5?
Well, quite frankly,
schedules change. He's a very busy man.
as you and I both know.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Well, that's not gonna happen. A and B. Actually, sometimes those are the better shows. Maybe not from attendance standpoint, but from content standpoint.
Oh yeah. Yeah. See, I would do it this way, since you are either agreeing or acquiescing because I put you on the spot on the radio. Is we will look at the teams the Vikings are going to play. And then, like Greenway, Nacho, 09, back when you guys played, things like that. So if we have 3 segments, then we can get into the game, of course. But we can I want to do some down memory lane we go with the 2 linebackers who were in the game on nickel in one of the most memorable seasons in the history of Vikings football. I think it's super cool. All right. Well, I'll send you the schedule. Now, Ravens Chiefs. All right. So you're I started talking about this a little bit yesterday. Brought it up with Rich Gannon and tell me what you think. Is the Chiefs are coming off a Super Bowl victory, the fan has learned. So we will have a banner raised this evening. Now, they got beat opening game last year. Okay, whatever. It doesn't mean it has to happen this way this year. Is just from a human nature standpoint, with all the vigor and energy and focus and everything that went into winning a Super Bowl. And now, all right, boys, here we go again. Well, it's not 10 of 10 like Super Bowl. Maybe it's 9.6 out of 10. I don't know. It'll be there. Do you believe Kansas City is A, looking forward to, or B, here comes Patrick Ricard in front of Derrick Henry, and that's 561 pounds of beef running 20 miles per hour, and we just raised a banner and got our rings. And it's a long season, and we're not necessarily in it for this play. We're in it for the totality of the season and show what people we can do, show people what we can do in the postseason. I just think it's going to be such a physical game this evening from Baltimore. It's a weird night for Kansas City tonight. What do you think?
Okay, so here's how I think the game could go. First of all, I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. I don't think that they're going to have the lull. I don't feel like they have the lull that they had last year. And that's just a gut feeling. Partially it's because Patrick Mahomes has really taken it upon himself. He's been sort of, I think, disappointed by how they played last year offensively, and knowing that, hey, the offense is not really what won you the Super Bowl. You had to have some magic. You had to have some key plays in some key situations. But I think he realizes, like, man, as much as I love that our defense came around and they are playing lights out and they're playing a high level, the identity of the Chiefs last year was their defense, and it was not their offense. So you've heard him sort of talk about it this offseason of like, nope, I'm taking upon this myself. This is a challenge. Our offense is going to be high-powered. We're going to be much more efficient. I think that he wants to lead the team from an offensive juggernaut standpoint and not so much the defense winning games, the offense not throwing games away. So I think that he's accepted that challenge. It starts tonight against the Ravens. So going back to how I think the game's going to go, I think that you're correct. I think that this Chiefs defense, as much as I really respect it so much more now, as much as it's hard for me to give Spags a lot of credit because I did not have a good experience with him in St. Louis. The fact is, he's a great defensive coordinator. He's a great defensive mind. He has built a very fast, athletic, confusing defense. They will get punched in the mouth tonight. I do think that having Derrick Henry, having Ricard, having this big, beefy offensive line with big physical tight ends, I do think it's going to be a lot for them to handle. But I have a little bit more faith that Patrick Mahomes has taken it upon himself to be much more explosive this year with their offense, that I think that the conservative ground and pound running attack won't be enough for them to win this game. And I think the Chiefs end up putting the gas pedal down, and they're like, listen, we got to start throwing the football. We got to start putting this ball in Lamar's hands, and it just won't be enough.
I love that. Excellent analysis. We'll see how the game shakes out. But, well, first and foremost, I like last year's Lions as much, if not better, than I like this year's Ravens. Okay? So Lions went in there and won. All right? Well, Lions went in there and won, smashing on you with David Montgomery. It was Jahmyr Gibbs' first game, so not many knew what was coming overall. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is better than any receiver the Ravens have. And Jared Goff's better than Lamar Jackson, specifically as a passer. So, why, like what happened last year certainly doesn't have to happen tonight. For me, and you play defense, man, and I'm probably wrong with this. I mean, tackling hurts, right? Tackling.
I mean, it hurts less than getting hit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, generally speaking, the tackling part hurts, and the full throttle Henry Ricard 560 pounds at you, if they get you the wrong way, that hurts too. It's just the first game. It's ballyhooed because you just won the title and all these, the rings and the banner and everything. And then it's not like this stylistically sound passing game coming. You got to run all over the field. No, it's Henry and Ricard and Lamar running at you and putting pain on you. Pissed off you beat them last year. I like the Ravens tonight. And if you like Kansas City, I completely understand and respect it.
I like the Chiefs tonight, and I don't think if you go back and ask the Chiefs players off camera, not guarded, say, did you guys overlook the Lions last year? I'm going to guess 90% of them did.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, it's the Lions. Lions are going to line. Right?
Great point.
Besides the point of like who they have at those positions, they didn't know what they had out of Jahmyr Gibbs. They didn't know really what they had. And, the league didn't know what their Lions really were going to be. Mm-hmm. They're not going to do that with the Ravens.
Yeah.
Like, they understand that the Ravens are a very good football team. Yep. They have pedigree across the board, and they're well coached. So I don't think that they're going to overlook these guys. But, hey, look, they got to play the game tonight. You could be right.
Fun game.
I could be wrong. Vice versa. But that's what makes it fun.
But what a fun way to start with Derrick Henry, or it may be the skeletal remains thereof. He may be nearing the end. I mean, he's taking a lot of hits. He's not as fast as he used to be.
No.
But that game, and then tomorrow, Green Bay and Philadelphia and Brazil. And then over the weekend, McVay without Aaron Donald against a team many are picking to go to the Super Bowl, the Lions. But week one can be such a coach's week when you have things that are new to catch people off guard. And McVay's elite. So McVay's going to roll in there with some new components and stuff like that. I think that's a cool game. Then you end it with Aaron Rodgers off the layoff, off the Achilles at San Francisco, and he's from that area. So I just think the totality of this weekend, the way the games are laid out, it's a phenomenal weekend.
I know it is a phenomenal weekend, and welcome back to the NFL. And this is so fun. And a little side personal note. Okay.
Yeah. You're related to Boogie Basham.
None at all.
Okay.
Nope. So,
or Boogie Basham.
I think it's Basham. This is the first year in 15 years I quit fantasy football. And I know Paul Charchian right now, if he's listening, is probably like, what are you doing? When the rest of the world is doing more and more fantasy football, I got out of the game. And the reason I'm excited about that, because you and I can have this conversation. We can have this bantering back and forth. I think the Chiefs are going to win. You think the Ravens are going to win. We can go back and forth. I'm going to say all this stuff. I'm not going to go into this game saying like, oh, I want the Chiefs to win, but I want Derrick Henry to run for 100 yards and get 2 touchdowns.
Why do you make that voice like that's how every fantasy football player talks?
Because that's how they talk.
It is not.
Yeah,
now, I only play in one league, maybe 2.
Okay, maybe it's like...
But I don't talk like that.
Maybe I talk like this a little bit and like makes it a little bit more nerdy.
Oh, I mean,
I know. Like I understand fantasy football's a lot of fun for some people, but it does drive me crazy that I will be watching games. I'm like, I'm cheering for this team, but I got 2 players that are on opposite teams, or I got 2 players on the other team I don't think is going to win. I don't like doing that.
Yeah.
I think early on when you don't understand a game and you don't understand, I didn't really know NASCAR, right? And when I was in college, we got to a NASCAR fantasy, and I'm like, this is great. Like, I'm getting to know all these drivers and their personalities and the teams that they race for and all the intricate things. Like,
always taking Dick Trickle first simply because of the name.
Always Dick Trickle. It was really fun to get to learn the sport. Now that you kind of learn the sport, it's like I don't want to cheer against multiple players that are playing against each other. I like cheering for teams. Okay. It is a team game.
When you return next year, I have a suggestion. And here's the suggestion. Well, this is how I do it, okay? Now, you're not in the box during games. Bursich is, so he would be able to better validate this. But, I set my lineup or lineups up. Most leagues I'll be in will be 2. And I will set it night before. Okay, now if I happen to come across something on Twitter that whatever is, closer to doubtful than probable, all right, if I have time, I'll jump in there and I'll flip it out. But the reality football, the job and the game take precedence over the fantasy part of it. So, you set a lineup if you're interested. And then as you're walking out to your car at US Bank Stadium, check it. When you're sitting on a bus at the end of a victory over the Giants at, say, 5 o'clock Eastern, check it. See what I'm saying? So gives you something to do, and you ain't sweating, wow, Aaron Jones has 6 carries for 95 yards, and the Vikings are 2 scores up. What's Boogie Basham going to do about that? What's Micah McFadden going to do about that? You're never not going to think about that because that's how you're wired because you're very good at your job. So you're not going to be, it'd be really nice if Devin Singletary could get a touchdown here because I got him in the 9th round of a draft and it's X amount of dollars per person. And I'd like to win that. You're never going to think like that ever. That's not you. So I think you're overthinking this a little bit. No,
I'm not. I appreciate that personal analysis of my personality, but
yeah, I'm sure you did.
But I've been playing fantasy for 15 years with my family, and it just there's just
so you got beat by a cousin last year, and he let you hear about it.
I always get beat. I don't think I finished. I don't think I finished better than the top half of the league ever.
I've won one league in my entire life, and I've probably played 100 to 120.
Yeah. So between paying attention to who's injured, who's not, setting the lineup, all this other, let's check the waiver wire. I've gone different iterations of how much I care throughout the years. Sometimes I just don't care. I'm
I'm glad you let this out.
I'll just do that. And then, but the thing is, I'm only bringing this up because this will be a new version of the NFL for me this year that I'm actually really excited about. I think there's a purity to going back to just I just want to cheer for the team or the matchup or just the
Understood.
purity. I will say this about.
I don't care about fantasy football.
I will say this about fantasy football though. I could get myself involved in probably a survivor pool. I think that's fun of just making sure that your team survives. But as far as the individual players, it's too much work and it's like too convoluted.
I agree.
It's like it's so ridiculous. And then you have an outstanding draft and like two of your players get injured and you're like, well, screw this. My whole season's over. Like this is just dumb.
Right.
So,
I understand. And I appreciate your vulnerability. And I thank Maple Grove Lock and Safe. Well, simply because you have found it's clearly you have found this spot is a lock to be a safe space for you.
Wow.
Because thanks to Maple Grove Lock and Safe, the sponsors of Nacho Leber every week, 9 to noon, you were so vulnerable and you just opened a vein right there and like let it all out. I just love that. Thank you.
It's because they protect you and they protect me in these situations.
Right.
You know? So I feel protected to say whatever I want to get off my chest.
All right. Well, without pondering A.J. Brown having 7 catches, 190 yards, and 2 touchdowns, or Jordan Love throwing for 2 and running for 1, who do you think wins the Eagles-Packers game and why?
Boy. I haven't chewed on this one as much lately, which is kind of bizarre because there's 2 teams that absolutely matter in our conference and a team that matters in our division.
No, we can stop there because I was just testing you.
What do you mean?
I'm not going to tempt. I'm just going to test. Because the way you spoke about fantasy football and the cathartic moment it was opening a vein and just letting it out the way you did, well, I wanted to make sure the next step was not, but I've decided to pick up sports betting.
I always love that one.
So,
well, I kind of have done that.
So like, if I ask you, what do you like in this game? Oh, geez, holy cow! Philadelphia in non-division games against teams that do this or do that.
Oh no, I
16
hate that
to 1.
No, I hate that. No, don't even. That's where the degenerate part of gambling just drives me crazy.
Well, you can't say that either. No, you can't say that.
No, I think
there are people.
I don't think
just because you're bad at it doesn't mean everybody's bad at it.
That is true.
Okay, and those are components through scoresandodds.com or through certain websites that people actually profit off of. You just happen to not be one.
No, but what I'm complaining about, which was where I thought you're going, is that like it's one thing to find a metric or a stat that's just like, oh, that is interesting. Like if you play on a neutral field, these guys just don't play. But it's just like, well, when they play in a neutral field at noon on artificial turf and it's between 70 and 80 degrees, that's the stuff that drives me crazy.
But you want to know a low hanger like that I haven't looked at it in quite some time, but it used to stand the test of time. And you're the perfect person to recall this. You were with the Chargers 3 years?
4 years.
4 years. All right, first 4 years of your career. The West Coast teams playing East Coast teams at a noon game, which would be, 1 o'clock, 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Well, from a point spread standpoint, it's like Nacho's Chargers are favored by 6 on the road against a bad Bucks team. They won by 4. It's like the body clock human nature thing for the West Coast teams playing super early. Did you ever feel that or recall that? I haven't looked at like how it went last year. You see what I'm saying, though?
Yes.
I mean, some teams will get out there a day earlier.
So that's the bit, is that I feel like all of those if we ever went East Coast from the West Coast, we'd leave on Friday.
Lucky.
So I never felt it.
Okay.
I tell you what did affect me is the altitude, and it affected a lot of players. And they would say, the doctors, and when I say they would come in and try to play mind games with us, and they say, well, scientifically, you got to be.
That science voice.
You have to be, within 24-hour period, your body doesn't acclimate to that point. So they're basically trying to say that if we fly into Denver on a Saturday afternoon, that our body hasn't yet calibrated or even like felt the effects of the higher altitude coming from sea level. For us, we were like at sea level and we were going up to 6,000 feet. So they were saying like you would only feel the effects cardiovascular wise, like maybe on Monday or Tuesday. And then at that point, it would take another period of time to acclimate to this new altitude. So they tried to tell us that within a 24-hour period of flying in and flying out and playing a football game, we weren't going to be affected by the altitude. That is a whole bunch of BS.
Why?
Because ask any player that's ever done that, and you're like, yes, it is harder to breathe. Like it is for us in San Diego. It was harder,
and that was pre-dispensaries.
And there's a reason why there was an oxygen tank on the sideline about every 5 feet with multiple masks to put on because they understood that guys really were going to get tired. Now, I would say for these, circling back to what we're talking about with tonight's game, look, these teams have a long flight. All the betting metrics, it's sort of unprecedented, this sort of flight. The time change really isn't changing much, right? I think it's still, is it East Coast time? I mean,
it's an hour ahead of East Coast.
An hour and a half.
Oh, it is?
So it's basically the same time. So it's not, I don't think the time change is going to affect them. The long flight might affect them, but that's up to their coach to figure out what's best for my team. And that changes all the time. So going back to just the X's and O's as well, that I'm sort of on the bandwagon of, I don't believe in Jalen Hurts as an elite quarterback. I know things have changed. I know that they've got some different pieces and, they've got a superstar running back, so they say, right now. And that should change the dynamic of their offense. But I am a little bit more of a believer that I think what the momentum that the Packers have, what they built up from last year is real. And I think they go down there and they sort of shock the Philadelphia Eagles and win that game.
Now, if teams for whom you played, all right, which would be the Chargers 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the Vikings 6 through 10, correct?
Correct.
6 through 10. Well, if the teams for whom you played would go to Denver, say a day earlier to get acclimated, that they might have wanted to send you 2 days before that.
I always love that one.
And here's the reason. You never won at Mile High. Holy cow. You were 0-5 at Mile High. Your first game was the fourth game of your career at Denver. You did have 4 tackles. And then you averaged 2.5 tackles a game at Mile High when you played with San Diego. Holy cow, this altitude thing is real. Because then you get here and you're averaging 6 tackles a game against Denver. Maybe that was the veteran wherewithal or whatever. But this, just like eliminating fantasy football, proclaiming Boogie Basham is not your cousin, despite reports, and opening up about the Altitude Sands dispensaries in Denver, this has been a very cathartic session with you because you never won at Mile High. And that's eating at you a little bit, right? You lost 26-9 in your very first game there, which was October 6th of 2002 when you were just baby nacho.
Okay, I didn't know my record at Mile High. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can kind of just gloss over that now. We don't need to go into it. We don't need to start naming off the scores and all this other stuff.
I just wanted to see how much it impacted you because you were a game changer. It was in the league a long time.
Okay, so maybe this is just like my betting acumen. Maybe this is like my betting history. Maybe I'm the only one that's affected by the Denver altitude, and I'm just making a blanket statement that it's for everybody.
Understood. Now, Ben's appearances with 9 to noon each and every Thursday are courtesy of Maple Grove Lock and Safe. Coming up around the corner, we have Ben's Lock of the Week and also some pertinent Vikings-related topics as they head to East Rutherford, New Jersey to play Danny Dimes and the New York Giants. We'll be right back.
Football Feast.
Wayne Larrivee, play-by-play voice for the Green Bay Packers, joins an hour from now. The Dagger is down Brazil way. Wayne sent me a picture yesterday of armed military outside of the team hotel in Sao Paulo, and I'd like to say that we with Vikings road trips never have seen that, but Bursich and I actually did a couple of years ago when we were at FedEx. Remember that heckler? I got into an argument with him.
I do remember that.
Then he wouldn't stop standing in front of Pete.
Yes.
Stood up on a chair at FedEx.
Correct.
I mean, the guy was .20.
Yeah.
And he would not leave Bursich and us alone. So then Harper's like, I'm going to go get security. Well, security at FedEx Field were machine gun toting Army guys who came into the booth to make sure the guy. So we have seen armed military at a football game before, but outside of the team hotel, man, that's a little crazy. The Dagger about an hour from now to talk about that experience and more. These Giants are really high on their pass rush with Dexter, Thibodeau, and now Brian Burns. So it sounds like a good game to unleash Aaron Jones and slow that rushing roll, I'd imagine. So maybe this is your Maple Grove lock of the week. But is running consistently a good way to slow a rush?
It certainly is, and it certainly depends on what type of runs. Not all runs are just obviously built the same, and I think they can all have a different effect. I.e., if you are using Aaron Jones in a downhill, one cut situation, that obviously changes how you approach it philosophically, and it's probably emotionally harder to deal with that because you're going right through the teeth of the defense. So yeah, if we have some designed runs, we go right after Dexter Lawrence, which boy, that's going to be a tough battle.
Yes.
So if we can attack him and just get on his edges and get downhill, then psychologically, I think that affects their defense a lot more. Versus like if you're like, oh well, it's just, he's had some gadget runs, he's had some weird things where he's just kind of like bounced around the backfield and hit us on the perimeter. Then it's like, okay, those are just kind of cheap yards. So yes, so now that you bring him up, he is my Maple Grove lock and safe lock of the week. So get this, Mr. Paul Allen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that the lock of the week is Aaron Jones in total offensive yards, goes at least for 140, both receiving and rushing, and has one touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
You can hit it again.
I put him on an 80-yard touchdown run earlier in the show.
Did you really?
Yeah, so we are in Maple Grove lockstep and safe key.
So here's the other caveat to that bold proclamation. Mm-hmm. He's only gone over 140 all-purpose on offense 4 times in the last 2 years. Now, last year we all know that he was kind of injury riddled and he had some issues and didn't play in all 17 games. But he basically he did play a full season the year before. So it's only happened 4 times in the last 2 years. So it is certainly a stretch a little bit. Yeah. But I think that the way that we are going to use him, the fact that we have not seen him and neither have the Giants seen him in preseason, I think he's going to come out of the gate like a bolt of lightning. And he's definitely going to be the catalyst for this offense.
The lock of the week is provided by
Maple Grove Lock and Safe.
Now, the Giants not only are high on their pass rush with 97, 5, and 0. How about players wearing 0? And I mean, 0 is just, it's like Ivan Pace Jr. switched to 0.
Yeah.
I get the why 0. I haven't heard it from Ivan, but I've heard it from other players. Why 0? Because nobody believed in me, and I was a 0 before I got to Florida State. And no, you weren't.
Why do you got to talk like that?
Yourself.
Why do you got to impersonate everybody that wears 0? That sounds
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Box. I just don't like 0 as a number. What's good about 0? How many wins did you have? 0. That's bad. How many tackles did you have? 0. That's bad. How many touchdowns did you have? 0. That's bad.
Okay, how many turnovers did you have?
Right, but quarterbacks aren't wearing 0.
No, that's true.
It generally is defensive players.
It is, yeah.
Right, so offensively, how many touchdowns did you have? 0.
Wasn't it Marcus Davenport? Did Marcus Davenport wear 0 a year ago?
Of course he did. Yeah, it should have been double 0. Just double the L.
How much did you contribute after week 4?
Yeah.
0.
Yeah. How much were you excited to leave? Put a 1 and a 0 in front of it, and it's 100. Yeah, the zero vibe's just negative. However, with Gilmore and Griffin, a couple of vets at corner, all right? And we got some number changes up in here too, Nacho, that I just learned yesterday at practice.
Oh, boy.
Stephon Gilmore is now wearing 2. Okay. Stephon Gilmore now wears 2. The island of Fabian Moreau now wears 23. Fabian Moreau, 23. Theo Jackson's a 26. Kane leaves, takes Theo 5 seconds to take his number. So Theo wears Antoine's number. He's a 26, and I believe that's it. Yeah, that's it for us. Theo Jackson's a 2-6. Fabian Moreau's a 2-3. Oh, yeah. The Alabama kicker.
Yeah.
16.
Oh, that's a lot better.
16 from 41. Okay. Remember Ryan Wright when he wore like an 88?
Yeah.
Well, he won the job. And then he went to a normal number. He was phenomenal. His first year.
He was better. I think he was 66, but he needs that number back.
66. That's what it was. So we got some number changing terrorism. Okay, so to the point. Stephon Gilmore and Shaq Griffin, a couple of vets at corner. If you are the Giants, how do you make sure they can run? I just got to make sure these guys can run, especially number 2, Gilmore. Okay, he's had a ballyhooed career.
Yeah.
I remember all the interceptions in 19. Shoot, my quarterback probably threw him 4. And he was the defensive MVP of the season. But that was 2019. He didn't do much in the offseason. You guys just signed him. I got to make sure Shaq Griffin. Yeah, he didn't play a game for you in the preseason. He's been on the Mike Hughes Memorial Field more than he's been practicing with his teammates. With all due respect, I just got to make sure these guys can run. So, how can an offense make sure these guys can run?
Well, certainly. I mean, the obvious answer is you got to test them. I mean, find some situations where you get second and short. You have a good first down. Mm-hmm. Don't care how it happens, run or pass. Mm-hmm. You're second and 1, 2 or 3. That's when you take your shots.
Yeah.
So that's when you press it down the field.
So they'll alley-oop to neighbors.
They'll alley-oop to
they
neighbors.
Think they have single.
They have speed and athleticism now. I mean, I don't know if you're a Giants fan, I don't think that you can really. Now we haven't seen these guys play together, but I don't think Malik Neighbors is going to be a bust. So you can't complain that they don't have the weapons out there anymore. This really comes down to Daniel Jones. Can he really take the next step and be the guy and earn his contract and be the franchise guy and earn that C? He's got a lot to prove because he's coming off that injury, actually kind of 2 injuries. I mean, he had that neck injury and then the ACL. So he's got a lot to prove. But I think if we can do really, really good on first down and limit their sort of take chance moments, then yeah, I don't think they can test us as much. But look, I mean, if there are mirror images and there's similarities and differences to every matchup, right? But I think some of the similarities are they don't have a strong cornerback room either. So if you read their stuff and listen to their people,
yeah.
They are obviously very high in their front 7. I mean, their defensive front, their 4 and 5 man defensive front. I mean, it is legit.
Yeah.
Right. They got
Bobby
speed.
Okereke. I mean, he was their leading tackler. I've just never thought he's okay. He's probably better than I'm thinking.
But I'm saying with Thibodeau and Brian Burns and Lawrence, and you got Boogie and you got Azeez Ojulari.
Yep.
They have some dudes up there, right? So you certainly don't want to be in a situation where they can just pin their ears back and they can be the aggressors. But they're looking at us similarly, we got to test their corners.
Yeah,
I mean, these we got one guy that just got signed. To them, Adoree Jackson just got signed back. He didn't go through any of the preseason. Now he's been with them, but so he got signed back. So how good a shape is he going to be in?
Yep.
We're taking very similar approaches offensively to how we're going to test their secondary. It's just that we have to be in a good position. Now, I would say on the flip side, where we have the benefit, I think we obviously have a better running back. I think our guy is superior to Devin Singletary. I would say that our quarterback is probably the potential to be better quarterback, even though we haven't. Look,
he takes so many sacks.
But Daniel Jones,
he can be in control.
So he can be in control. So much of his game is rhythmic, short passing game.
Yeah,
and I think that we have the ability, if you're talking about testing cornerbacks, we have the ability with our offense, with the way KOC draws things up, how we like to take deeper shots. I think that we have a higher success of exposing their secondary versus them exposing ours by the nature of what we do best versus what they do best. Daniel Jones is not a deep ball thrower,
right?
And he's not one of those guys that's going to take a ton of chances down the field. So let's just hope that he comes off this injury and this preseason and all of this weight on his shoulders and and sort of plays the way he normally does, and we come out on top.
All right, with Nacho, we will see him on TV today and tomorrow at 3:00. Channel 5, Twin Cities Live, TCL. Yeah, we. Channel 5, weekdays, 3 to 4:30. I will see you on the bus Saturday to head to New Jersey to play the Giants on MetLife. And we thank Maple Grove Lock and Safe for sponsorship of these segments each and every week. Ben's Lock of the Week for a big game was Vikings running back Aaron Jones. Thank you, brother, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks. See you Saturday.
Back after this.
Man.
What up, News du Nord, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. That's the website to go for live racing schedule, events of all kinds. They keep you busy down in Shakopee at Canterbury.
Live racing tonight, 5 o'clock.
Absolutely. So get down there. And by the way, plan on being there. First race is probably around 5 o'clock, I would assume. Is that accurate? Somewhere near that area?
Yeah, 5:10-ish.
Okay, cool. We'll get there at 4 and participate in the NFL Pick'em bit at Canterbury prior to going and pick all the games.
It's open right now.
Absolutely.
It's 10 in the morning till when...
It wasn't until 10 till 10?
What a great surrogate child. I mean, seriously, I can't even remember that I dropped that, and you did. And you went with it to promote the racetrack. That's really cool.
Well, correct. Well, I got to get down there after the show today. So when you're like, hey, I got some spots to do. I'm gonna rush you through it.
But wait, do you have an MVP card?
I do. Yeah, of course I have an
always
MVP card.
You're like, what? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. What a question. But of course, you're feeling the felt all year long at Canterbury as well. CanterburyPark.com. The Twins weren't feeling it yesterday. What was it? Ronnie Enriquez opens things up with one hit at 12-pitch first inning. Pretty clean. Mm-hmm. Well, then Louis Varland got absolutely destroyed for 8 runs. Rays win 9-4. Twins couldn't catch up. It's a nooner in the finale today in Tampa.
Oh, they play again?
Yeah, Pablo Lopez completes the 4-gamer, so hopefully they get out alive and they can head to Kansas City after this. Kansas City got off the schneid after that long losing streak yesterday, so they're feeling good about themselves into a weekend series, Twins and Royals. Byron Buxton, we were feeling good about him getting a rehab assignment yesterday, PA. He struck out twice, and then he got ejected. Got ejected from the game. I think he was unhappy. What? Yeah, I think he...
in St. Paul?
And he did. He got in a tiff with the umpire, so... and then the atopic for him still had some hip discomfort. So it's something that apparently they're going to continue to watch over the next couple of days. But Byron Buxton, as of yesterday, very much nearing a return. And we'll see where it goes from here if he's able to participate in the first one of 3 this weekend against the Royals.
There was, let's see, so I was watching Cleveland KC. Ben Lively was pitching for Cleveland. Seth Lugo's the dog, by the way. Seth Lugo's one of the best pitchers in the division, and he never gets the credit that he should get. Seth Lugo's the dog. So you knew you were going to get a big effort out of him. What are you going to get out of Lively? What are you going to get out of these punchless Royals, who had all of 2 hits in the first game against Cleveland? Biggest series of the year. 2 hits, get beat. Then you get 4 hits, get beat. Well, they opened up 4-1, and it was the metaphorical floodgates of positivity if you looked at that dugout.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hugging each other. Salvi Perez is cracking jokes. Bobby Witt Jr. is feeling his oats. So that's how baseball works. When you get stuck, you stay stuck for a little bit. It's a cyclical game, but it's so long that it doesn't go, oh, we got 15 hits this day. Now we got 2. Now we got 18. Now we got 3. Now we got 12. Now we got 1. No, it usually goes 2-4, break out.
Yeah.
Or 14, 15, 1. That's just how the cyclical, beautiful game goes. KC busted out last night just in time for the old Twinigmatics to get, well, we're a series down there.
It is in Kansas City, yeah.
Just in time for the old Twinigmatics to get down there with that no-hit, occasionally no-hitting bunch.
The Twins are both tied 4.5 back in the division, but they're 5.5 up on both the Tigers, Red Sox. Oh. Actually, it's a trio, the Mariners. 370 and 70 teams if you're looking at wild card positioning. And that's where they stand.
I mean, that's just
series.
But that is, I mean, that's indictment would be the wrong word or too strong of a word. That typifies what the American League is like when you stop talking about a couple of teams. I mean, the Tigers are awful.
Yeah.
They're awful, and they traded their best player, Jack Flaherty, to the Dodgers. So, yet they still have a chip chair and a chance. That just shows you how bad things are at the bottom of that wild card thing.
Could be bad for the Cincinnati Bengals as well, although Jamar Chase participated in his first official practice of a game week ahead of the season opener this weekend, PA. Chase was limited, and he was listed as a limited participant, but we know about the hold-in and the contract dispute and all of that. Burrow says, let me see here. He says that the game plan is flexible if Chase decides not to play. We'll see if that ends up happening, but whatever happens, we'll be prepared for it. And whether that means T. Higgins, if, Leber's not into this, but for other people, if Jamar Chase was not to play, one could surmise that if you were in a guillotine league and your neck depended on it, that T. Higgins might have an opportunity to jump out. Now, August 24th, I think it was around the last time. Let me see here. He participated in a light practice during the break between camp and the official start of the regular season. However, after Coach Zach Taylor said he expected Chase to participate the rest of the week, that was the news last week. He just showed up in shorts and didn't do anything, and people are worried about Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase wants to get paid, PA. And
he did not get paid, right?
He has not gotten paid, and games that count start pretty soon.
Ooh, they went to the Super Bowl. He knows what it feels like. He knows what it feels like, and if Jamar or anybody's like, I know what that feels like. I know that guy throwing the ball is really, really good. But for whatever the reason, I miss Joe Mixon, and I just don't think this is going to be good enough. And I'm pissed off that they didn't pay me.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, this is probably something I could push through. Nah, man, it just hurts. I'm just going to go ahead and stand off on the side. And I'm not saying that's Jamar, okay? But it's that stuff like that happens when you've pissed off some certain players on teams. So CeeDee Lamb got his money. Dak didn't. It behooves Dak to play at a certain level so he can get his money. Well, Chase is reliant on others around him and the coverage he gets to get his money.
Yeah.
And then you get Micah Parsons. I mean, Parsons didn't get his money. So that's why I'm like, this Dallas situation, man, it's just kind of a negative vibe with what's going on with Jerry Jones and the players and everything. This Jamar Chase situation, man, this is negative. This is just negative because, well, I'm like at first blush, and I don't know anything about their spot rack or their salary cap situation. How do you not pay Jamar Chase? I just don't. How does that not happen? It's like...
Well, and think about this, too. T. Higgins is playing on the franchise tag, so he's making $21 million.
Mm-hmm.
His dog, Justin Jefferson, just reset the freaking market.
And the one who was their Sage Rosenfels for Favre and Childress or Favre and Bevel. Okay, Sage Rosenfels, 2009. Great middleman between Favre and the head coach.
Okay.
And it was needed all year. Okay, or most of the year. Specifically at the end when Brad tried to, at least from the way Brett told it, Brad tried to bench Brett while the Vikings were down 1 in a nationally televised Sunday night football game against Carolina.
That was the Panthers game.
Yeah, and then Brad was like, I was basically trying to save his life.
But didn't it look like McKinney took the night off?
No, but that's the point, is Brad basically said, I'm trying to save his life because 74 can't block Peppers. And then Brett's like, I never have had anybody ponder pulling me from a game only down a point. So Rosenfels was a good intermediary there. Tyler Boyd, from what I understand, has been the adult in the room in a lot of situations with Cincinnati. And I'm not saying it involved T. Higgins and Jamar Chase or not. I'm just saying that Joe Mixon had some wild card to his personality, and they had this tight end. I can't remember his name. Well, they had Irv Smith Jr., but he never talks.
C.J. Uzomah, Tyler Kroft.
It wasn't them. Maybe it wasn't a tight end. But Boyd's gone. Yeah. Okay, now Boyd goes to Tennessee. Okay, so now you got one massive ego from the 2020 draft being like, well, I deserve this. Okay, we'll take the 21 and we'll work on it. And Jamar's like, the kid up in Minnesota, I'm better than him. Okay, I'm just a better overall receiver than Justin Jefferson. That probably is Jamar's take. And if you argue it and you like break down the all 22, Jamar is, let's just lay it out like this, on par at least with Justin Jefferson. Well, he got this and I want this. And they couldn't get it done. Yeah. And you can't get it done. That's Trey Hendrickson is not sucking up so much money with that team or whomever else they paid, the quarterback. Have they paid Burrow?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Okay, well,
he's making a 55 piece, I think.
Well, think about this. How in the heck can you pay Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Fred Warner, Bosa, and whomever else, Kittle, How can you pay all of them all that money, and Cincinnati is like, well, we paid Joe. Well, yeah, who else? That's it. Yeah, well, I mean, Hendrickson, the dead cap's all gone. That's it? And I can't get paid?
Yeah.
Well, that stuff leads to 4-13 records, and it leads to, this knee. It just, I know I played through it last year, but you know what? I'm going to chill on it for a second. I'm just going to go ahead and let it get up to 100%. It just, everything I said leads to stuff like that,
Indeed. Last nugget for you here, and then we'll pause before we continue some NFL conversation. I saw this quote from Kirk Cousins. He's making the debut this weekend against the Steelers for the Falcons. In a sick way, you want to get popped. I'll probably tell the first guy that hits me, thank you, within reason.
Who's he playing again?
The Steelers.
Thank you.
It's good to get the taste of blood in your mouth a little bit. Cousins needs to get hit.
Oh, wow.
He's saying the Achilles, I need to know that I'm healthy.
Yeah.
And from his standpoint, he wants to get popped by T.J. Watt on Sunday, I guess. Mm-hmm. And he's going to get up and say thanks.
Until you get popped by T.J. Watt, and then it doesn't feel good. It's compelling what's coming with Atlanta. I mean,
it is.
Atlanta's ballyhooed. I mean, Atlanta trading for Judon and trading for the safety from the Broncos, Simmons, with Drake. I mean, there's so many people putting certain players on absolute monstrous breakouts because they have a change at quarterback.
It reminds me of the 2018 Vikings, to be honest with you. Different circumstances, NFC title game the year before for the Vikes.
Yeah.
Languishing season, middling season for the Falcons. But in some ways, the way they're talking about it is that everything's fixed. Everything's fixed. Take the leash off of Bijan. Kirk's there, first real quarterback we've had there since Matt Ryan, all of those conversation topics.
Yeah.
You mentioned adding Judon, and Grady Jarrett can still play. We're finally going to sack the quarterback for the first time in 3 years again. They talk about that so intensely, about winning that division and being an NFC contender. So we'll see what happens.
Well, with Kyle Pitts, who had 1,000 yards his rookie year, but he only had one touchdown. Kyle Pitts' receiving touchdowns have gone 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Well, with Cousins there, you take 1, 2, and 3, and you make it a 6. Well, that should be the minimum for Kyle Pitts this year. So many people have Kyle Pitts on more than 1,000 yards. Okay, at 68 catches his rookie year, and he started 15, played 17.
That was kind of the Julio Jones career, too, where he had all those yards and catches, but so few touchdowns.
No doubt. But with Pitts, he's so supremely gifted that I just don't see it. I just don't see a lot of touchdowns coming from Kyle Pitts because I don't think he's a great red zone route runner. Now Drake London, on the other hand, all right, I don't have Drake London's numbers in front of me. Well, that guy's sitting on a big one. Yeah, Drake London is, if you got Drake London in fantasy football, I think wherever you drafted him, I think you hit on one. Because I think it's going to work really, really well. Play action of Bijan Robinson with the Pitts threat. Okay, you have to acknowledge and honor Kyle Pitts because he's so fast. But Drake London, I don't know if he's had big or mediocre seasons, but I think he's the one that's sitting on a big one.
And Kirk's an elite play action QB.
Yep.
I mean, that has to be, he's gone, respect this, don't respect that. He's elite play action. That's going to work well with Bijan, or at least it should and very well could. That's News to Nord, PA. Thank you to the casino at Canterbury Park.
A 6-pack of picks is coming up around the corner. 3 from Nordo, 3 from yours truly. And it's not just, hey, Ravens and Chiefs. I'll take the Ravens and the money line or the plus the points. No, it's going to be the 6-pack part, at least the way I perceive it, is a lot of people when they watch sporting events will indulge in a 6-pack. And then picks will come out of the games. So these will be some games that we find to be compelling to watch or listen to. And if we are so inclined, then we will go to touting a little bit. And that's around the corner on FM 100.3 KFAN. Wayne Larrivee, Vox for the Green Bay Packers, the Dagger. He joins from Brazil 30 minutes from now.